do this.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. How are you? I haven't seen you today, really.
I'm very busy.
Been hustling, the whole
Yes,
holiday hustle,
yes.
just a baking away.
Baking away. Just call me Betty Crocker. No, yeah, don't call me that. I've actually been in charge of desserts this Thanksgiving. So I've just been baking my little heart out.
That's cool. So made some
Mm-hmm.
cookies I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Made some pies,
Mm-hmm.
some pumpkin
Cheesecake.
pie, and some cheesecake, which are
Mm-hmm.
two of my favorites.
And then been packing and all the things. So it's been a really crazy day. How have you been? What have you been doing?
I've been working, man. It's been
Yeah.
a regular day for me.
Yeah.
Went to the gym, had a client there that I'm the owner of the gym's out of town, so I'm covering for him for some of his clients. Got a workout in while I was there. Not another soul was in the gym,
Mm-hmm.
which was kind of
Mm-hmm.
nice. Guess everybody's already taken off for the week. So, yeah, other than that, just kind of been business as usual. Had a couple calls with some clients and yeah, just kind of talking everybody through, getting through the rest of the week. Obviously, we've been addressing that quite a bit within the participants of the 14-day challenge too, and just talking a lot about, it's one long weekend. It's not a big deal. We can enjoy ourselves. We don't really need to be worried about setting ourselves back. And we talked a lot about how we can still pay attention to some of our core tenets throughout the week, like protein, like water, like getting movement in, to kind of help us maintain and set us up to be successful next week, even if we're maybe over consuming calories and eating some things that we don't normally do, which I know we will be doing.
Mm-hmm.
When we talked, one of the last talks that we did, we talked about, um, having some of your, if there's certain items that you really enjoy that you look forward to over the holidays, you're going to save room for that and you don't need to deprive yourself of that. And so pumpkin pie is one of those things for me. So I'm definitely going to be having some pumpkin pie.
I will be having booze.
We'll be having a little bit of alcohol, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And even if I'm going to still keep it on the rails somewhat. I'm not going to eat everything in sight, but I'm also not going to restrict myself. And that's going to be fine. I'm going to come back on Saturday or Sunday or
Mm-hmm.
whatever day we get back and, kind of get back into it. Probably take a day to rest. But
Yeah. I may
um,
go a little off the rails. I don't know. I don't know, y'all. That sounds like something I would do. But that's okay, because once again, even if you do eat everything in sight and you do go off the rails, you can always kind of just get back to it quickly instead of waiting, okay, I went off the rails and so it's going to be like weeks before I can
that's
get myself together. Like, we really want to get back to it like as soon as we can.
the 3 week period between Thanksgiving and Christmas is big because I think a lot of people tend to go crazy over Thanksgiving and then they're like, well, it's only 3 more weeks till Christmas, so I might as well go hog wild for the rest of December too. And that's when you can kind of get yourself into a little bit of trouble. There's no reason to do that. Yeah, there'll be some leftovers probably for a couple of days, but you can still make some healthy meals with turkey. Hopefully, you're having some vegetables with your Thanksgiving feast as well. So,
In the
uh,
form of
in the
casseroles.
form of vegetables coated in cheese and mayonnaise.
Mm,
But regardless, we're going to get back on track for the most part on
yeah.
Monday, and if you do the same, it's going to be absolutely fine. You're not going to miss a beat, and that's really what it all comes down to. The holidays are not what ruins anyone. It's the fact that we let that get in our head and we let that spill over into, too often in the rest of the year. So, but that's not what we were here to talk about today, although that is part of it. Today, I wanted to talk about the power of self talk. I teased this out a little bit on a story I did on Instagram the other day, and it's something that's been on my mind. And this is something that if you brought it up to me a few years ago, I would have probably been like, this sounds kind of like horse shit and some woo woo. Just visualize it and everything will magically go your way kind of stuff. Um, that's not what this is. So
This is not horse shit.
This is actually, in fact, not horseshit. Um, Maybe it is, but I think there's some validity to it. So the way we speak to ourselves, the way we identify as a person, I think has a huge bearing on what we're actually capable of. And I've witnessed that to a certain degree within myself. Whereas, there was a period of my life not that long ago where I was a very different person than I am now. My habits were very different. My priorities were very different. And I've been able to make that shift primarily by telling myself, this is what I want. This is the kind of person that I want to be, and these are the attributes that that person has. And I kind of just told myself, these are the things that I need to do to become that person, and sort of embodied the traits of this future version of me before it was actually who I was, if that makes sense. And so, a good example of this is, maybe we tell ourselves we can't get up early, to work out or to meal prep or go for a walk or whatever. Or, we don't like to eat healthier foods, or we don't like working out. Like, the more you tell yourself these things, the more it kind of becomes a self
Fulfilling.
fulfilling prophecy. And it kind of becomes part of your identity. Whereas if you tell yourself you can do these things and you will do these things, it can really just kind of be like a light switch that you flip on and off, to where you start embodying the characteristics of the type of person that you want to be. I think a good example of this, which maybe you can speak to, is when we become parents. How many of us, when we're younger, when we don't have kids, when it's just us, obviously our priorities are very different than when we become a parent. We probably tend to be more irresponsible and more self-centered, and less organized. The minute you come home with a child, it's almost like you flip the switch and you're like, I am in charge of this other human being now. My life has to change. I have to become the type of person that's capable of taking care of another human being. And, most people, obviously there's some people that struggle a lot with that and have kids, but most people figure it out. Most people, because it's non-negotiable, you have to. And so, a lot of people who have kids probably thought prior to that, I don't know if I want to have kids, or I don't know if I would be a good parent. And those instincts kind of take over once you're put into that situation. And so I think, this is kind of the same thing. Like, you can visualize and identify as a person who does things that maybe you haven't historically done, and you can make that shift. And it all starts with how you talk to yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're absolutely right. And that's actually, I think, with a lot of what I do with coaching, most of it is, I would say, mindset is like probably the biggest hurdle that I see. And it's just people saying, like, well, I can't do this, or my body, is different because I'm not able to do these things, or like I don't have willpower, or it's a lot of negative self-talk for sure. And I think that a lot of times can be like the single biggest obstacle for people, is really just changing your mindset, to say, I'm a capable person that can do these things. So yeah, for sure, I would say that's a huge hurdle for people.
And so, the way that I have sort of come to reconcile this, which, again, like I said in the beginning, it was, um, the idea of like visualize it and it'll come true, all this crap. Like, I never really bought into that. But I think the mechanism that's at play here is when you talk to yourself a certain way, when you identify a certain way, even if this is completely subconscious, you're going to find ways to validate that identity. And so
Ooh, that's good. That's true.
if I talk to myself and say I can't, I mean, I keep using the example of I can't get up early, because I think that's a good one, because that was another one that I used to struggle with. I never was a morning person. Another great example, I think, well, I don't know if this is a great example or not. It kind of is. I mean, I used to be a pretty disorganized person, I would say, when I was younger. I worked in restaurants and professional kitchens for years. And, if for any of you who have ever done that, if you're a disorganized person, you will get run the hell out of there pretty quickly. And so I kind of learned within trial by fire that you got to have your shit together. You got to be organized. You got to know where your stuff is. Otherwise you will not succeed in this business, and everyone's going to yell at you and hate you. And so you kind of start to you look at what you have to do, and you're like, all right, I have to become this person, and you start to find ways to validate how you can become this person rather than finding ways to validate why you can't do it.
That's a really good way to say that. I like that. You're going to find ways to validate who you think you are, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just came up with that.
That's good. That's like some notes. Oprah shit right there. An aha moment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty
good.
proud of that. So, if you're kind of person, if you're telling yourself meal prepping is too complicated, or, any of these things, and this could be a work in progress again, too. Like, it's not going to be like flipping a switch for everybody. But the first step is how you talk to yourself, and then you build from there. Um, we have some business mentors that help us build this business, because we didn't know what the hell we were doing when we first started. We still don't really, but we're a little bit less helpless now than we were a year ago. But one of the things that the mentors that I have are always saying is, visualize who you want to be, visualize what are the characteristics of someone who runs a successful business such as yours. What are the things that you do on a daily basis? And we get down to like the granular nitty gritty, like what time do you wake up? What's the first thing you do in the morning? What's the second thing you do in the morning? What do you do to wind down at night? Like, how are you bridging the gap between business and personal life, and taking care of your own physical body, taking care of your mindset.
Yeah, so visualize yourself being the healthy, fit person that you want to become, and what would they do in their daily life?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I mean, there's nothing inherently special about most people. I mean, obviously there are some outliers in different areas, but most of the people who are successful, most of the people who are fit, most of the people that have attained, things that we, would say, quote unquote, success, however we're defining that, is just because they've determined the steps that they need to take in order to move themselves ever closer to that goal, and they do it consistently. And they don't let barriers stand in their way, and they don't let the idea of, oh well, I can't do this, be an obstacle if it's something they don't know how to do. Most people don't. We're born not knowing how to do anything, and we learn, and we're very malleable, absorbent beings to where we have the ability to learn new things and the ability to grow and to evolve. And so, but all that starts with you opening up yourself to accept that and to let that in.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's easier for us when we're a child, obviously, because everything is so new and we're so curious and we want to learn and we want to absorb everything. As we get older, we become adults and we get funneled into a career and a certain life, and we just start to identify as this one specific thing, and it becomes harder for us to veer outside of that box. And I think that's where a lot of us get stuck.
Yeah. I mean, we say to clients a lot too, the difference between people who reach their health and fitness goals and those who don't is, because super fit people that you see, whatever, on social media here and there, they have the same amount of time as we do a lot of times. They have the same amount of resources, all of those things. It's just the people that decide, like, I know I can do this and I'm going to do it. There's nothing, like Derek said, inherently special. It's just a matter of people deciding, like, this is the life I want and this is what I'm going to do. And they pursue it. And they pursue it consistently over a long period of time. You know, because it's easy for us to, you know, say, oh, I'm going to get in the best shape ever. And then, you know, 2-3 weeks in, we're like, never mind, you know, it's too hard or like whatever. It's just, you can't, you know, really stall out with it. You have to know that I am a person that's capable of going the distance with this. So,
Yeah, and that's just it. There's going to be barriers and everything. There's going to be bumps in the
and there
road.
is for every
There is for
person.
everybody.
Yeah,
And the ones who succeed are just the ones that keep going and they don't let that derail them. And that's why we tell each and every one of our clients when they come into the program, the only way you can fail is if you quit. If you keep going, there's no other way around it. Like
yeah,
there's going to be obstacles that come up. We're going to get around them.
right.
Like there's never been a person where we're just like, oh well, yes, you are the one person who cannot cannot
Right.
lose weight and reach
Well,
your goals
and
no matter
as
what.
we
Sorry.
say all the time,
That hasn't happened.
it's not always a perfect journey, but nobody's is. You know,
Right.
like you're not going to do everything perfectly and all of those things, but neither do anybody else that's in great shape. Their journey is not perfect either. I promise you. So just keep
It's
that in
often,
mind.
2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Totally.
But as long as we keep pressing on, we identify what the issues are, we can, get over. We don't want to keep having the same issues over and over again. So we do want to identify obstacles and solve them.
Yeah.
But again, I think that all kind of starts with us being willing to part from who we are currently. You almost have to just kind of, unzip yourself and step outside and become a different person. And, that can be scary for a lot of people. And, it was definitely something that we have gone through somewhat too. That
Yeah.
was scary in the beginning.
Well, yeah, and you also encounter people, which we talked a little bit before, that will kind of try to pull you back to.
The crabs in the bucket.
Derek says
I like
crabs
my
in the bucket.
crabs
Tell
in
him
the
the crabs in the bucket thing.
So the crabs in the bucket, it's an analogy that I use probably far too much. But somebody told it to me once and it resonated, and perhaps some of you have heard it. But basically, if you put a bunch of crabs, like fishing crabs or whatever, in a bucket, if one of the crabs tries to crawl out, the other crabs will reach up, pull the other crab back down, because they don't want the one crab to escape and find freedom. Unfortunately,
Is that why though?
they've done extensive psychological tests on these crabs, and that's exactly why.
It does happen though.
And that's kind of what human nature is, unfortunately. We did address this on one of the other calls where, and this is kind of a harsh way of putting it, but misery loves company, meaning, people, this is probably usually a subconscious thing too. I don't think most people
I don't think
mean
it's
it
like
to be.
I'm miserable, so I want you to be miserable. But it's more
Right.
just like
But
I'm comfortable. Ooh, I got it because I heard this recently.
Oh,
It's
sounds like a good one.
sorry, it is a good one. But it's people who are comfortable with you how you used to be, and they don't know who you are as a new person, and it's scary to them that they're going to lose you as this new person. So they want to be comfortable still with who you were. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah.
So
I think
they want to
especially
kind of pull you back into, well, you're fun, Laura, that drinks like all the time and goes out with me 24/7, and like then you're fun, Laura, that comes over and we like eat a bucket of ice cream or whatever. So they don't want to lose that, and so they kind of try to pull you back in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, especially from like a relationship standpoint where someone as a certain way.
Right.
And oftentimes people grow together, oftentimes they don't. And so that's definitely one aspect of it. And I think another aspect of it is, people don't like to feel like they could have improved themselves and evolved and chose not to. And so, I think sometimes when we see other people making changes, we see other people improving their lives, then it kind of highlights the fact that
We're not doing
we have
that.
not, and we know deep down inside that we chose not to, and that hurts sometimes. And we would rather everyone stay where we're comfortable with, so that we don't feel additional pressure to level up. And so, that's why there is a lot of psychological evidence around how important it is with who you surround yourself with. What's the analogy, like if you surround yourself with, 3 millionaires, you'll be the fourth. If you surround yourself with 3 drug addicts, you'll be the fourth. Those are extreme
We need to
examples.
find us some millionaires.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know enough millionaires apparently. But that's the point. Being is you will kind of morph to your
Right.
surroundings. You will rise up to the level if you're surrounding yourself with people that
Are trying to
are
better
trying to
themselves.
better
Yeah.
themselves and are pushing you to better yourself. And on the flip side of that, you will fall down to the level of other people who are not doing that. And so, um, that's just kind of all stuff to think about as we are all going through our own journey and really being honest with ourselves about what we want out of our lives, what we want that to look like, and kind of to tie all this together. How we talk to ourselves, I think, is a big part of how all that starts and how we can get the ball rolling, whatever direction we want it to go in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so just remember this holiday that we are capable people and we are disciplined. And I hear this a lot too, like I don't have willpower or discipline to reach my goals. Like, yeah, you do. You have discipline to get up in the morning and go to work, which we don't want to do a lot of times. We have discipline to get up and brush our teeth. We have discipline to take our kid to school. All of these things, we're disciplined people. So I think that, we can't tell ourselves that we're not disciplined. That's like not the issue to me. A lot of times it's just like we're maybe don't know what we're supposed to be doing, or we're doing something, like that's maybe not super effective for us or efficient for us. But we are, we all have discipline. And so keep that in mind too. We're not just a bunch of undisciplined folks running around out here trying to figure it out. Like you do have that discipline and you do have that willpower. So tell
Most of
yourself
us,
that.
yeah, most adults are disciplined in something.
Right.
There's very few people out there that just have none of that going for them. And I think Laura's example of going to work is a good one because, and you might say, well, I don't have a choice. I have to go to work. Well, you kind of have to set those same parameters with doing the things that you need to do to take care of yourself. And by you telling yourself that, me getting in my workout, not doesn't have to be all the time. Obviously, there's going to be other situations, but just like there's situations where you can't go to work, but it needs to be kind of up there with that other stuff. Like you're going to go to work, you're going to do the things that you need to do to care for your children, and probably those have got to be priority one and priority two. But a close third is going to be I got to take care of myself so that I can be the best version of myself at work, so that I can go further in my career, move up the ladder, or start a business or whatever your aspirations are there, and to be there for your kids and to be a better parent, to be a better version of yourself for them. So it's not really a separate thing. It kind of ties all together with everything else. Everything else in your life is going to be better. You're going to be better performing at all those things when you do the things that you need to do to take care of yourself. And so that needs to be a non negotiable priority. And you need to start talking to yourself in a manner that allows you to get to that point where you become that person. And so I think that's really where it all starts. And then we can kind of build from there.
Yeah. Good deal.
That's pretty much all I had. See, I got through that whole list in
Good job.
less than 30
I
minutes.
know Derek had a big long list, y'all. I was like, this is gonna be a really long live, I'm afraid, but you did good. Good job.
All right, well, we will hop off here unless anyone has any questions who is watching. Um, Hopefully, everyone has a great Thanksgiving. We'll be on the road a good portion of the day tomorrow, so probably won't be hopping on tomorrow or Thursday, but we may. We'll see if we have
Yeah,
some
we
time.
still have
Um,
hopefully internet access. We're
I don't
going.
even really know where we're going.
I don't
so.
either, but we're going somewhere that's kind of out in the boonies. But we'll see if we get service and all that. Then we'll hop on here.
But regardless, we'll be doing the challenge support call on Sunday. Probably same time as last week, 5:30 Mountain Time, 7:30 Eastern Time. So I'll drop that in the group and send out an official invitation and let you guys know for sure what the official time of that's going to be. But like I said, we'll probably be jumping in here and chatting to you guys between now and then. So as always, let us know if you have any questions. Hopefully you got some value from this. Thanks for those of you who are on live. This replay will be in the group feed for anyone who wants to go back and rewatch, or for anyone who missed it. And everybody have a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
We'll talk to
bye,
you soon.
you guys. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Bye.